Hi, this is Math 1350. This video is going to be over section 6.2. We're going to be looking at law of cosines. We'll also be using law of sines here at times because it is more of a straightforward formula. So it's usually the go-to when you just need to find one quick angle or one quick side. Good thing is when we use it, there won't be abstract cases where you have two possible solutions or no solution. You're using one instance where you already know there's a solution. All right, and so these can be used when you have just all sides of the triangle and no angles, or it could be used where you have two of the sides and one of the angles, and the angle does not match up with the other two sides. Okay, so you don't have any ratio of A to angle A, or B to angle B, or C to angle C. It's you have angle A, side B and C, or angle B, side A and C, or angle C and side A and B. Okay. The formulas, it's one long formula, and then the other sides kind of just switch places depending on what you have. So if you have angle A, it's a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine A. If you have angle B, then b squared is out in front. If you have angle C, then c squared is out in front. And the other two take their place in this kind of form here. Where you have side squared minus 2 times side, and then cosine of the angle. If you're looking for just the angle, you basically are solving this for cosine of that angle. And so, it's b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. Depending on which one, again, the side just takes its place. So here a squared is minus. Angle b squared is the minus 1. Angle c squared is the minus 1. Alright, so best thing to do if until you get these down, just have the formulas with you. So solve the triangle with side A being 6, side B being 10, and angle C is 80. Alright, so we have angle C, but we don't have side C, so we'll do c squared. Okay, c squared equals 6 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 6 times 10 times cosine of 80. And so we'll simplify this up some. 36 plus 100 minus 60 times 2 is 120 cosine 80, and then 136 minus 120 cosine 80. And then remember, this is c squared, so we're going to have to take the square root as well. So 136, oops, I don't know what I just did. 136 minus 120 cosine 80. And let me just check, make sure my row is right. Yep. And I get 115.2. And so I'll take the square root of this. You get 10.7. Right, so that's your side C. Alright, so now we got all sides. We need to get another angle. And so this is where law of sines comes in. Because we have a side 10.7, instead of using these more complex formulas to solve the angle, we're just going to use law of sines. So if I want sine of angle B, it's going to be 10 over sine of 80 over 10.7. So sine of B is 10 sine 80 over 10.7. So B is 10 sine 80. Oops, I forgot the inverse. Inverse sine of 10 sine 80 over 10.7. we get 66.98, so about 67 degrees. And so nice, you only have to use law signs once because you already have another angle, so we just subtract these from 180 to get our final angle. So 180 minus 80 minus 67, and we get 33 degrees. All right, so now we have all our sides, all our angles. Right, and so we want to solve the triangle with sides given as A, B, and C. And so since we have all the sides, we use one of these. I'm just going to use the top one. Cosine of A is equal to 17 squared plus 22 squared minus 13 squared. That'd be minus A squared over 2 times 17 times 22. All right, so let's do some of these squares. 17 squared is 289 plus 22 squared is 773 minus 13 squared, which is 604, and then 2 times 17 times 22 is 748. And so we're taking the inverse cosine of 604 over 748. We get 36.15. Now that we have an angle, we can find our next angle. So sine B over 17 equals sine of 36.15 over side A is 13. So B is going to be inverse sine of 17 sine 36.15 over 13. I get 50.5. And so then the last one is angle C, be equal to 180 minus 50.5 minus 36.15. I'll call this 50.48 minus 36.15. We get C is 93.37. With the third problem, very similar. Side, we have 18, 20, and 30. Again, it doesn't matter which letter is which, we'll just designate one so we know what they are. And so we want the first one. So cosine of A is going to be 20 squared plus 30 squared minus 18 squared over 2 times 20 times 30. Alright, so 20 squared is 400 plus 30 squared minus 18 squared is 976. And then 2 times 20 times 30 is 1200. So A is inverse cosine of 976 over 1200. we get 35.6 degrees. Right. Then we go to our law of sines. So sine of b over 20 is sine of 35.6 over 18. So b is inverse sine of 35.6 over 18 times 20. 20 on the outside there. So inverse sine 20 times sine 35.6 divided by 18. We get 40.3. And then angle C is 180 minus 40.3 minus 35.6. And we get 104.1. So we'll get into a couple application problems with this. First, a logistics company is planning a delivery route between 3 cities, forming a triangle. The distance between city A and city B is 50 miles, side A. Distance between B and C is 70 miles, side B. The angle between those two, which is angle C, is going to be 60 degrees. Using law of cosines, calculate the distance between A and C, which is side C. So C squared is 50 squared plus 70 squared minus 2 times 50 times 70 times sine of 60. And so we'll work this out. 50 squared plus 70 squared is 7,400 minus 2 times 50 times 70, which is 7,000, sine 60. And so 7,400 minus 70,000 sine 60 is 1337.8. So take the square root. We get 36.6. Okay, that's your distance between the two. Alright, if the company wants to minimize travel costs and delivery vehicle consumes fuel at a rate of 5 miles per gallon, how much fuel will be needed for the trip from city A to city C? So we know I'm going to double check my math here real quick. 2 times 50 times 70, 7,000. Oh, I did sine 60. I see what I did wrong. Okay. I wrote it wrong both times. There's law of cosines. This is cosine, this is cosine. Alright, so let's do that again. 7,400 minus 7,000 cosine 60. 3,900. Take the square root of that. Is 62.45. Okay, so now we're going to multiply, that's how many miles? 62.44 times 1 gallon per 5 miles. Means when you divide this by 5, you'll be using 12.5 gallons. Next one, engineer is designing a triangle support structure for a solar panel array. The lengths of the two sides are 8 meters and 10 meters. So A is 8, B is 10. The angle between these two sides is 45, so C is 45. So we're going to use law of cosines to find angle or side C. So C squared is 8 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 8 times 10 times cosine of 45. We'll make that mistake again. 64 plus 100 minus, let's see, 80, 160 cosine 45. So 164 minus 160 cosine 45. And that's C squared. So 164 minus 160 cosine 45. Actually, in this case, it's 45, so it won't matter if I made that mistake. So C squared is 50.86. So C is square root of that. .13. All right. If the engineer needs to determine the angle between side A and side C, angle B, for proper installation, calculate this angle using law of cosines. All right, so here we want to do, since it says use law of cosines, we'll use law of cosines, but we do have everything we could use law of sines. But cosine B is going to be A squared plus C squared, which is 7.13 squared, minus B, which is 10 squared, over 2 times 8 times 7.13. I don't know why that's coming up. Right. So 8 squared plus 7.13 squared minus 10 squared, right, divided by 2 times 8 times 7.13. So we get 0.13. So angle B is inverse cosine of 0.13. We get 82.5 degrees. Alright, so that is end of chapter 6. We'll start our next chapter, which we'll go back to chapter 5. That'll be the final chapter in trigonometry. I'll see you then. Bye.